Sexism in video games. How prevalent is it? In today's episode of Society Now, we'll be taking a look at how video games portray women and the impact it is having on gamers. So what is sexism? Sexism is defined as behavior, conditions, or attitudes that foster stereotypes of social roles based on sex. In this week's episode of Society Now, we will focus on sexism towards women. Take, for example, the Tomb Raider series. This video game is about death-defying adventures and class acts of heroism. However, the main character, Lara Croft, is a classic example of just how misrepresented women are. The proportions of Lara Croft are implausible from the first entry to even the latest title. Generally speaking, attitudes toward women in video games seem to be on a radical end of the spectrum. Most women in video games are young, white, oversexed, and helpless. Women in video games are most often seen as damsels in distress. This stereotype has forced women to be seen as weak and just a prize for men to win. In Super Mario Bros., for example, Princess Peach is taken and Mario must save her. She is helpless, seen as inferior, and objectified. It is almost as if the princess would get nothing done without Mario. However, women are not only misrepresented but barely represented at all. Only 16% of human characters in video games are female. Race also plays a huge role in how women are treated. Of the women in video games, 86% of black females represented are violently harmed. This reduces the empathy for black women and women in general who are involved in assault or violence disputes. While some people may not think that sexism is common in video games, we at Society Now have gathered a list of just some of the sexist video games that have been made throughout the years. The Dead or Alive series. While it started as a serious fighting game, the makers of Dead or Alive quickly found a way to sell more copies, plus be women. Starting with Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball, the makers of the game made sure to make a whole story dedicated to women in barely anything with no real point other than to be a purr without feeling bad about it. Metroid, The Other M. Nintendo does not have the best track record when it comes to their games. However, when it was revealed that Samus in the hit series Metroid was actually a woman, many people were glad to have a female hero who just wanted to do the right thing. She was a role model, that is until Metroid The Other M. In this installment to the series, Samus is portrayed as helpless and scared, waiting for her male captain to approve of her actions, even in life or death scenarios. This was a total 180 from the Samus portrayed in the earlier games. Custer's Revenge. With the namesake of a Union General, Custer's Revenge couldn't be that bad, could it? Well, it turns out to be a lot worse. First released on the Atari, it was marketed as an adult game, and it's clear to see why. You play a naked man with a visible erection, dodging arrows to get across the screen to rape a naked Native American woman tied to a pole. There's not much else to be said. The Tomb Raider series. Another heroine lost to the imagination of horny game developers. Lara Croft is a badass archaeologist who hunts for ancient relics, while outsmarting both man and beast. However, not many people can seem to get past her looks. Ever since the first Tomb Raider game, Lara Croft has had a large bust, tiny waist, and wide hips. The only change throughout the years is she gets more and more real-looking with each new iteration. Unipop. Dating simulators are getting more and more common nowadays, but few stand out like Unipop. This game is about seducing women solely based on your ability to play a Candy Crush-like game. You play a quote-unquote loser who is visited by a magic fairy in order to become a womanizing player who starts to go on dates with 8 girls at once. Complete these dates well, and pictures will start to come in of the women with less and less clothing until they are fully naked. As the finale of the dates, the player can go back to their apartment to have sex with them. During the final game, the woman's top comes off, and the final screen is of the woman with ejaculate all over her. After that encounter, you do not talk to that character ever again. Many of us here at Society Now have grown up with video games. they were our main form of entertainment, where we felt that we were in the world on our screens. We related to many of these characters and felt we were living their lives. We have first-hand experience about how video game culture directly affects our lives. Our worry is that children today will take the wrong message from some of the aforementioned video games and take an unempathetic view towards women. They may expect women to be wearing next to nothing, assume a gender role that makes them dependent, and use them only for sex. These expectations go for both male and female gamers. If these ideals are implemented at a young age, we may see a regression to a time where women couldn't do much and were basically only used to make babies. It's horrible, but video game tycoons know that sex sells, and it will keep selling so long as young gamers expect it.